Morning.
Morning.
Thank you for coming. I think everyone has signed in who's visiting. Let's see who's here. Sue's here, Rob's here, Bob's here, Mike G's here, Jim's here, Mark's here. So we're missing David, and we are missing Mike Kennedy, who is chasing a golf ball at Hilton Head, I think. Okay. We have some visitors this morning. Everyone signed in. That's great. Let's start with Putnam, who wants to give us an update on a couple things.
All right. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So my name is Putnam Kidder. I'm the rec director, and I am following up with you all about a community snowshoe we have this coming Tuesday going up to Clark Lookout from 10 to noon. And it had originally kind of started as an offshoot of the junior hiking patch program, which was the alternative to the patch program to make it kind of kid-friendly. We had talked about trying to do that and then using this event to promote that program. And then I figured, well, maybe to get more people there, we could just kind of open it up to anyone who was around and then have them come and join us. So I turned it into kind of a community thing, but also talking about the junior hiking patch program of it. So hopefully we can get some folks there, either families who are on vacation or other people who aren't at work that day could come join us for a nice hike up to snowshoe up and back to Clark Lookout. And then any kids who do come, I will be able to be using the van, and I'll have Mark said he was going to help out with us, and if anybody else wants to come, that'd be great. But I would have another volunteer meet me at the community parking lot, so we could have people drop off kids. Parents could drop the kids off there. I could transport them to the snowshoe, and then we could have them pick them up afterwards. So that would be kind of a nice way for parents to be able to, if they were working or things like that, they wanted their older kids to come join us for that. We could transport them there and back. So we'll do that, and then we'll have other people meet at the park and ride there by the trailhead, and hopefully have a really nice, not too windy snowshoe up there. We'll certainly have some snow, but I think it's just a good way to be able to promote the wonderful trails we have, and then also to be able to promote kids utilizing and knowing more about the trails. And then I think we have stickers now, which Mike designed. They're really great stickers that if the kids do I think were there 8 or 9, maybe 8 trails that we had, kid-friendly trails that they could check off, and then they could get this and put this wherever they wanted. Kids like stickers, and this is a good alternative to have them learning more about the trails we have. And I would like to be able to do, maybe if we did it kind of seasonally, we could have a winter one, a spring one, and then a summer one. And I think, again, it's just trying to promote these programs and these opportunities in a way that are engaging for kids and community members, whether we have more kind of scavenger hunt ideas or other things going on with it to try to lure as many people as possible. Because I think, unfortunately, we have to kind of have more of a hook as opposed to just saying, hey, we're going to snowshoe. That might appeal to some people, but we have a few more things going on. And that's on my end to try to get more people there to be able to promote these things. But that's what's happening with us. I'm excited about the opportunity to do it, and I'm excited about the collaboration. And that's pretty much the update. We have a flyer. I saw that the Conservation Commission put it on their Facebook. I'm putting it on our Facebook, so we'll see. I don't think we're probably going to get big numbers this time, but each time we do these events, we figure out a little bit more about how to promote them and who we connect with to get as many people as we can there. So hopefully we'll get some folks this time, and then with an eye to be able to do more of these in the future. And we have the stickers, which is a great first step. So I'm excited about it and really appreciate the collaboration with the Conservation Commission, so I can kind of tell people more about some of the recreational opportunities we have here in town with all the great trails we have, and then also share the amazing work that you all do.
not that, we have very little to do with geocache, and I'm aware of them here and there.
Might be an incentive for kids to, be able to find all the geocaches.
Yeah,
It would be putting them up there.
yeah.
And maybe that's something we don't wanna do, I don't know.
I think there were some that weren't maybe, was it, did you guys used to do that with
We
your
used to do
kids?
that when my kids were younger.
Okay,
There's some on Clark Pond, or at least there were.
yeah.
Yeah.
But is it through, who did it? It's like not a,
It's just like a website. And
Okay.
Someone puts it out, they do it, they put it out there, and they publish it on a website.
Yeah.
It's really not a person. It's just like the public.
yeah, yeah, so it's not like affiliated with anyone particularly other than this group, but I think it's those are the things I'm talking about, of trying to kind of get a little bit more engagement, especially for kids, to be able to have kind of a scavenger hunt, kind of have that idea. And also, I think trying to do, when we're out there looking for tracks and kind of explaining a little bit more about what we're seeing, I think that's really important too, to be able to learn a little bit about what we're seeing when we're out there and all the amazing resources we have in the place we live.
Putnam, we have this junior hiking challenge form. Are you gonna have some printed copies, or you will? Great.
So I'll have the stickers and I'll have that, and I'll follow up with you and Ella about exact details. I might have her meet me at the parking lot, and then she and I can go over. Again, it'd be great if we have a lot of people. I'm not expecting to have a lot of people, but hopefully we'll have some folks. And yeah, I'll print out them, and I'll have the stickers too.
So I'll meet you here at 9:45.
Yeah, do you want to just meet at the parking lot?
Oh, whatever you say.
Yeah, that'll be
Okay.
the easiest thing to do.
Okay,
And then Ella and I will come over in the van. Hopefully we can get some people to be able to take advantage of dropping the kids off. And I reserved the library conference room just in case we got not that long of a hike. In case we had any extra time, we could take them in there and they could get picked up from there. So
okay, so I'll meet you there. Anyone else wanna join us?
I was gonna go on the hike,
Yeah,
I just meet over at the park and ride.
yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do too, at the park and ride is what, yeah?
yep, yeah, we'll kind of meet that back corner where it's not too crowded. I don't know, I would hope on a Tuesday it wouldn't be too crowded, but you never know over there. Sometimes I drive by. It's
Yeah.
crowded.
Just one other thought, you mentioned animal tracks. New Hampshire Fish and Game has a lovely little sort of pocket reference card of tracks. Would that be would that be fun with the kids to do some animal tracking as part of the?
Definitely, and that's another thing I can do is I can print out some information like that if we had some, just print out that people could be looking at what we could see, so they could do
That's
some
great.
identification.
Thank you, I think that'd be great.
Yep.
That's it for me.
Thank you very much. We really look forward.
Thank you,
Thank
Putnam.
you, Putnam.
Okay, that's great. All right, Andy Deegan, let's see, you were here last meeting, and we wanted to get updated on a couple of things. One was the New London Conservation Plan that you told us about. I think it's been almost a couple of years now.
It's Osmond Sergeant's conservation plan, and it's from 2022.
Okay,
3 years ago.
okay. So is that available? Is that something you can update us on?
Document, I can tell you about it. I can show you some occurrence mapping that we did for it. So we do keep it as an internal
Thank you.
document just because sometimes people, when they see their houses,
Listed, I get nervous.
some people get excited. Some people get excited, other people are like, oh no.
Yeah.
They're gonna target me. But it's also, if we go after them and they're looking for money and they see that their property's desirable, then they're gonna want more. And, when we're conserving land and we're paying money for it, we're not allowed to pay more than the appraised value. So we've had projects go through where the landowner thinks each time the property, the area of land has one of those attributes, it adds like a layer. Like think about like yellow cellophane or something like that. You put the one down, it's gonna be light, but you get a couple on it, it's gonna be kind of dark. So if you look at the map, where you see it's darker green, that's where there are more attributes that we would want to see conserved. And it kind of fit the narrative that you would think. You know, the center of town is more developed, so there are not as many attributes there that we're looking for, so that's why it's white. You can see kind of Main Street, things like that, 114. A lot of that light green color, I would bet is because it has prime ag soils. So when you think about it, when the town is being settled, where do you want to build your house? Where the good soil is so you can grow the food so you can live. So unfortunately, a lot of that's developed. We have conserved some of it. But what we're really looking at is like the outer areas of the town. So if you look to the north, adjacent to Webb Forest, that's something we're going to want to work. The southeast portion of it, I know you're doing a lot of work expanding on Low Plain, which is great. But there are some other areas there that would look good to conserve. A lot of good attributes there. And the other area we're looking at is the southwest corner of the town. So you're looking at where we have Cordingley Preserve and the Davis Conservation Easement. There's still work to be done there, but again, you need a willing landowner. We can't go take the land. That would be bad. So this is really, in the town of New London, this is where we're going to focus our efforts on those. You know, what we do now is we try to figure out people who know the landowners in question, where we're looking at, and, you know, to see their level of interest in conserving their property. And some people just don't want to do it, and other people you just have to find a way to hook them in and see what they want to do.
Okay, question, Andy. You know, I understand your point about not going public with this. But are we able to get a confidential list of these parcels?
To be quite honest with you, the master plan used to have a list of properties, and I would think that most of those are on that former list.
That
It's the
wasn't,
list that we've been working on, isn't it? Mark?
Well, that's a list. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
the only list, but.
I mean, if you cross this with your list that you're working on, I think there would be a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
There might be some that, I mean, we had a couple in other towns where it didn't light up the property, but the town, in talking with the town, they're like, we would like to see the property conserved, and that's where the collaboration with the town conservation commissions comes into play, where, yeah, it might not light up, but it's an important piece. Like, what this doesn't get into is scenic resources. Like, oh, you know, you look at Main Street Meadow, it's a little bit, but it's an important part of the town of New London. You're driving up from Four Corners, and that's your view, you know? So there are other attributes that can come in that aren't in this co-occurrence map. This is just basically science-based as opposed to human-based.
the list that we currently have, although it has been updated a couple of times, basically goes back to the days of Peter Stanley, when he was our Conservation Commission coach, if you will. So that goes way back. But the answer to my question, I'm asking, is this list available? And I understand it's probably on other lists, but, so are you saying it's not available?
This map right here,
Yeah, the identification of the actual parcels.
Well, that's the list that, I mean, Austin Surgeon has their list, which I don't think is really available.
right.
But we have the ability to refine the
It just doesn't seem like a cooperative arrangement, you know, if we're
Well, I
going,
think it is, I mean, we could use their coherence map. It's not cooperative.
Right.
It's just,
well, we don't have a list. Okay, we have this diagram.
But we don't have a list. We just have this map, and then we go to the town of New London tax maps and go, okay, what parcels are in there? And then we click on it, and we get a name. And then we talk to people in town, you know, talk to Sue, who's been here forever. You know, other people who might know these individuals, and we figure out the way to approach them about conserving their land.
Okay,
But we don't have a specific parcel by parcel list of who owns these lands.
and that's what we as a conservation commission, in the past, as the conservation commission have generated that list and then in the distant past, given it to Osmond Sargent and said, this is what New London thinks
Right.
is important.
that's correct.
Right,
My
because
point,
you're looking at more, we're looking at mapping. We're basically just scientific mapping of what are the soils here. That's what we're looking at. You're looking at the town and what's important to the town. There might be some on here, like I said, I think in the past, there was one on, Route 11 that doesn't really light up here, but I think Mark said it was important because it was a larger parcel,
yeah,
kind of on the way coming into town. So that is how the Conservation Commission is looking at it. That's not how we're looking at it. And it doesn't mean we're wrong and it doesn't mean you're wrong. It's just two different ways of looking at what you want to see conserved.
well, we can certainly look at the tax map, but if we could identify the parcel numbers on each of these, it obviously would save a tremendous amount of time, but if it's not available, it's not available. Okay. You were going to get back to us on the Big Hilltop parcel.
Yep.
And I want to just make sure that we understand, I'm reading the minutes, and I want to make sure the minutes are correct. But your last visit was to talk to us about one of the two remaining parcels that was 16 to 17 acres. And
That was my understanding. They're different. Yeah.
okay, so
That isn't really on the table anymore. I talked to the realtor and, you know, explained to them that the price that they're looking for is just more than we could afford to do. You know, what they were asking for 15 or so acres is what we're potentially paying for 1,300. So if we're trying to see where our money does the best bang for the buck, we told her that asking price was just too much, and that was the feeling I got from the Conservation Commission as well. I think Michael actually straight up said that's way too much.
well, it appeared that 2 years ago, when they offered us both parcels, a total of roughly 30 acres, it was 1.3 million. Now, if I understood your proposal or the offer you were presenting at the last meeting, it was half of that, roughly, 16, 17 acres, and it was for $1.5 million. What's that, $88,000 an acre? Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't, I didn't come up with
Okay.
numbers.
Okay, so you're saying Osmond Sargent has no interest in it at that price?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
At that price. If something came forward with that, we'd be interested. If they were going to sell it for 300, sure. That might be something we'd be interested in. But at this point, they're not at that.
Yeah, okay. All right.
No, we're interested in conserving that piece, just not for that price. And if something came forward and, you know, we could work together
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that we're in the same position, that, you know, we're interested in the parcel too, just not at that price. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to, I mean, there are only so many dollars for
Yeah.
conservation. And, you know, we want to make sure that what we're getting is really important.
Yeah.
That piece is important, but in the grand scheme of things, could that think of what you could do with $1.5 million.
Well, of course. And really, the longer it goes, the larger Park and Ride gets, the more traffic there is on 89 and 103A, the less interesting it is. Because I'm amazed when I go in there, and it is a beautiful parcel, but the highway noise is deafening. And I can't imagine that's a highly desirable building lot to have to listen to that night and day. But any rate. Okay, so I guess we're clear on that one. All right, thank you.
Could I make one comment, Andy, back on this? You know, you mentioned the southwest corner of town, which, you know, is a relative desert as far as trails go. So I think, yeah, we're deficient in that part of town, and so I would.
I mean, the only trail we have down there is on the Cordingley parcel, which, you know, it's a nice trail. It goes down to the brook, but it's not a destination.
Right.
If we could expand on that, that would be great. But again, you need a willing landowner. And we've had conversations, and at this point, the landowner isn't willing. So, you know, if that changes, that would be definitely something, because I've had conversations with other people who are also interested in seeing that conserved.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you. Okay, let's see, Laurie Bride. No, can you, this should have a green light there.
Hi, I'm Ginny Gwynn. I'm a member of the Sunapee Japanese Knotweed Task Force. This is Lori Bride, she's also a member. And we were invited just to come and talk to you a little bit about what we're doing. And we have tried to learn from you about what you're doing in Low Plain as well. Lori was the person on our task force who volunteered to try to figure out what you were doing and what your technique was and so forth. I'm a member of the Sunapee Conservation Commission, and one of the reasons I got on it a few years ago was because I hated looking at all the knotweed along 103B every time I drove out of my house to go anywhere. And so a couple of years ago, we did a natural resources inventory, and one of the goals was to try to deal with some of the invasive plants in Sunapee. And so in Sunapee, the knotweed is not on conservation property so far. It's all on town and state properties. So it's not really the Conservation Commission, it doesn't really have any authority to do anything. So we went to the select board, our select board, and asked them to support a task force. So that's what the task force really is. It's authorized by our select board to try to deal with some of the knotweed issues in Sunapee. So we have 20 members on our task force, really got an enthusiastic outpouring of people saying, yes, we hate knotweed too, and we'd like to help do something about it. So we have been now to the select board twice and gotten their authority to move ahead. We've selected 4 pieces of property where knotweed is in Sunapee. They are on Route 11, between Route 11 and our public library, at the town hall, right next to the town hall property, on one of our local streets, Garnet Hill, near Garden Hill and Jobs Creek, and at the livery, which is a privately owned property, but it abuts a lot of the land along the Sugar River where we have a lot of people. So we're moving ahead with those 4 pieces of property. We're going to use the smothering technique, which is what you all used, I understand, at Low Plain. And we're trying to get some ideas about what material we should use to smother. So there's lots of alternatives. And I understand you use weed barrier cloth, is that right? on Low Plain, yeah, so.
We use 10 mil poly.
Sorry?
We use 10 mil poly. That's
Okay.
what we use.
Oh, okay, great, thanks. So we're moving ahead with that. We have a local landowner who does forestry work, and they're donating wood chips to us, as many as we want. They say they always have too many, so that's a nice thing to have, and they're going to deliver them. So we're going to go out, if the snow ever melts, we were going to cut the dead stalks in November, but the snow came so early, so we lost that opportunity. So once the snow melts, we're going to go and cut the dead stalks back and remove them so that we have more of a, I'll call it a clean slate to work on. And then we'll go in, depending on the weather, towards the end of May or early June, and then cut back the living stalks and let them dry at their locations, and then get rid of them. And when we remove them, we'll then put down, our plan is to put down a layer of wood chips, put down the, whatever the material is we decide to use, and then put more wood chips on top. A couple of those sites are going to be really difficult, and, you know, we recognize that. Particularly, I don't know if you all drive down Route 11 into Sunapee from New London, and on the right hand, on both the left and the right, there's massive knotweed on both sides of Route 11. The state has given us the okay to go ahead and do whatever we want, as long as we don't touch the guardrail. And, but it goes kind of abruptly down a hill, stops at the base where there's some water, seasonal water flow, and then there's nothing on the other side going up towards the library. But the library view is looking at knotweed. And so the library trustees are delighted that we're going to tackle that, but it's going to be tough because it's on a slope, and I'd rather be working on flat surfaces, but we're going to give it a try. And I've had a conversation with Matt Tarr, who's you might know him, state biologist. He did a project on his own property, and so he, you know, has given us advice on what to do, and you know, just keep at it. But we know it's a multi-year process, and that's it. You want to add anything?
No, that's about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you guys consider any kind of a treatment, chemical treatment?
We did. Unfortunately, all of the spots that we've chosen are either right along the river or along streams that flow into the Sugar River. And we're so close to the lake everywhere, and nobody wanted to do that. So we opted out of that. It's going to make it a lot harder, I know, but I think that, you know, that's what we have to try.
Ginny, question. Sunapee Knotweed Task Force, you said, has been endorsed, authorized by the Sunapee Selectmen.
Uh-huh.
So is that a completely independent organization or group from the Conservation Commission?
It is. So I'm a member of
Okay.
the Conservation Commission, as I said. I have been concerned about knotweed. I asked the conservation, my fellow members, if they would authorize my going to the select board, because we've spoken about it, you know, at various meetings, and as I said, it's not on any conservation land, so we, you know, collectively as a commission can't really say, okay, we're going to go tackle this knotweed, because we don't have any authority to do it. So we had to get the town authority. So there's some people on the committee, or the task force, sorry, that are associated in different ways with the commission, but I'm the only actual
Okay.
commission member, yeah.
Now, when you say we are going to do this work,
Yes.
is that your membership of the task force as volunteers, or are
Yes.
you using a contractor?
No, we as volunteers are going.
Okay, so you're doing
Right.
all the work yourself?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
We hope, right? We'll see how strong we are.
Do you know roughly, either individually or totally, how many square feet of area you're talking about?
It's a lot. The one on Job's Creek and Garnet Hill is probably the smallest patch. That's probably, I don't know, 10 by 20 feet or something like that. I mean, it's really small, but it's starting, and it's, you know, it's going to grow along the road if we don't do something about it now. And that's,
Sure.
the one at Town Hall, I am sad to say, was very small 3 or 4 years ago, and I went out and talked to someone about doing something about it and got turned down totally. And now it's big. I mean, it's expanded. It's jumped to the other side of the road, as we would expect. And I think we decided it was 200 feet long and 30 feet wide, something like that. But that's also, it's not flat. It flows down into a little seasonal stream thing. And then, and I'm not exactly sure how far we're going to be able to go. So they're big. The one along Route 11 is the worst. Yeah.
The other thing that we had talked about was there's a couple of these places that we will not be able to smother because the plow or whatever would be, revealing what underneath, just taking the tarps off. So we were going to try a couple of other things besides the smothering, and one was to have that person just cut that down and keep cutting it down the minute it comes through to see if maybe that would work. We're going to try and stay with the smother technique completely, but in some situations we can't. So we're going to try other things besides chemical. I mean, from what I understand, calling different towns, most of the towns haven't addressed this at all. Those that have, New London is actually one of the first, so congratulations. But so the whatever we can do to stop it is what we're at right now. And right now there's two, there's smothering or chemical. And, Roundup is a known carcinogen, so that's not even an option. So we'll try different things, but, I know a couple people in town have just tried the mowing, and just the minute it comes up, or mow every week that area, and it has died. So we'll keep trying. But it's,
I don't know whether you know Don Bartlett, who is, I guess the person we'd have to say who really drove the work down at Low Plain, and it was about 2,000 feet, Don?
We did a little more than 4,000 square feet.
4,000.
Yes, it was with
Colby
a
Sawyer.
couple of students from Colby Sawyer.
Yeah.
And there was a woman there from AmeriCorps who worked with us.
Yeah.
And
I've spoken with her.
you have,
Yeah.
you talked with Ann?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm more than happy to work with you and
Okay,
show
great.
you what we.
Oh, that'd
show
be
you what we've
wonderful.
done and
Terrific,
talk
thank
through
you.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll give you my contact before we leave.
Okay. Excellent.
I think, I don't know that much about this, but we would be really interested to know how it goes on the steep slope by the Abbott Library, because isn't that one of our biggest concerns at Clark Pond, is that the place where we have it is so steep,
It's not extremely steep. It is steep, but it's also seasonally very wet. Very wet. There's,
And originally, that's what knotweed was used for, was to protect from erosion. And the other issue is that when it is mowed, in any area, the mower blade, the decks are not cleaned off, and so they carry it to the next place. And one of the areas that is worse is by the town, what do you call it?
Highway Department.
Highway Department. Because it's all on their blades. So it's hard. It's carried everywhere, so we have to find something that eats knotweed.
do you have a funding source?
Your turn.
Yeah, my turn. I asked the select board a couple weeks ago for funding, and they were all set to give me money, but then they couldn't figure out where to get it from. And so then they said they would defer until after the March vote and see what happened with the budget. So I'll go back to them after that. I'm actually thinking about trying to do some private fundraising, because it's going to cost a lot, and to get all the material and so forth. And so we'll see. If you have a funding source, let me know.
The Conservation Commission helped with the
Yeah,
plastic. But I mean,
yeah.
the biggest cost would be if you were buying the wood
Material.
chips.
Oh, the wood chips,
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
and if you have that
Yeah.
delivered for free, the plastic, hundreds, not thousands of dollars.
Yeah, okay. Good.
It probably, I mean, do you have an arrangement with a tree service where you can get wood chips?
Yes. Van Webb is the chairman of the Conservation Commission.
Sure.
And he and his son run a forestry business. And,
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so Tyler, his son, has said to me, "I'll give you whatever you want. I hate knotweed." So, you know.
Then really, and if your labor's taken care of, then your real big expense is the ground cover.
I think so, yeah, the ground cover, and then, you know, and then we'll have to just get people to keep monitoring what's happening. So, I mean, I
Right.
think that's the big thing, that you can't give up. You have to be vigilant.
We shopped around quite a bit for the ground cover and determined that it really needed to be permeable. Otherwise, it's gonna
Yeah.
collect a lot of water.
Right.
And, I mean, a lot of places you can buy it, but we also found that the shipping was almost equal to the cost of the
Oh, wow.
material.
Uh-huh,
So we ended up, where else? Amazon, you know, with free shipping and, but we still spent a few $100s on it.
how much?
It was a little over $200.
Yeah, I think it was about $500. We bought two
Okay,
rolls.
yeah, okay. Do you? Yeah, okay, good, that'd be great, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And as Laurie said, I mean, New London is the only town that we found around the area that has basically done anything to try to, you know, deal with knotweed, so congratulations on being the first. Yeah, but everybody wants to know.
And to be honest, we don't know how successful.
Right.
Yeah.
You won't, yeah, you won't for a while, right? Yeah,
I guess,
And it will be multi-years.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Everybody we've talked to just says you have to monitor, you have to fix holes, and
Yep.
it'll spread out, you know, around, so you just have to,
right. Keep trying,
starting our journey.
right, exactly, it's a long journey.
there is an interesting location, and I think we might have talked about this before, but on Lower Old Main Street, if you're traveling from the cemetery
Yeah.
down, just at the last access road into Clark Pond, there's a cable there. Just beyond that, right on the very edge of the road, and it's steep, it's all covered with black plastic. And it's been that way for 2 or 3 years, and I don't see any knotweed there, but no one has claimed ownership. The town says they didn't do it, so I don't know who did, but
Interesting.
it'd be interesting to watch that.
I've seen that. It's
Yeah.
a lot of bare plastic.
Yeah, yeah. So if that's what it was done to do, to, you know, eradicate the,
We actually took a tour of that site with Anna and some folks last year just to see how it was doing. But that person didn't put the ground cover, didn't cover it, and they definitely had knotweed stalks poked.
oh,
So I
it
think
did come
back
through?
in and pulled and cut again. But it's kind of neat to watch it and see what happens down
Yeah.
there. So I am aware of it, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
There's another area right next to Blodgett's Landing that if you're going down 103A, yeah, and they've been plasticking and cutting plastic, and it's not secure plastic, so it's coming back, but they're trying.
Okay, well,
So
thank you.
Can I just ask you one question?
Sure.
Did you consider using herbicides?
We talked.
Yes. And the Board of Selectmen did not feel as though that was appropriate
Okay,
at this time.
okay. Just curious, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you for your time.
Okay, well, thank you and good luck. Okay. There any public comment? Don? Push the button if you would. Should light up.
I think it's already green.
It's going,
Yeah.
okay,
So,
perfect.
Don Osler, Trail Club crew member, and I just wanted to give everyone a heads up that my wife and I are putting together a presentation about the bog. And we're going to, first started out that we're going to give it to our neighbors at Hilltop Place. And then it expanded to AIL has asked us to do it at the Woodcrest, as a showing is going to be in
Oh,
April.
perfect.
And just to give an idea, we're going to have kind of a PowerPoint and a description of
Yeah.
the Conservation Commission, what the role is, being a caretaker of the bog. We've taken pictures of every season of the bog. My wife is very good at making a video presentation with music and so forth. I've spoken to Mark, we're going to use his new signs, you know, on PowerPoint and just a discussion and so forth. So it's going to take place, I guess, in April, and I just want to give you a heads up, and if there's any concerns about what we might be doing, of course, we'll share it with you before it gets promoted, so.
The Woodcrest is April, but Hilltops soon.
It's going to be April 2, it
Oh,
seems.
is it?
There's no significant date, so it seems to be happening in April.
So this will be an official presentation videoed.
Official from,
Okay.
from us,
So
not necessarily the.
with your permission, it could be used elsewhere.
Oh, absolutely. You know, initially, generally, when we do a video, sometimes we use copyrighted music, which can't be shown other than just to friends. But we might, depending on how this goes, if we use the stock music, we may be able to say, you know, we could show this presentation, we could give the presentation. So I think it's just something that, you know, we want to do. So
Great.
keep that.
Oh, that's excellent.
Will there be a picture of Michael Pig there?
Well, we will have a picture of the sign. It'll be, donations will be prominent, so anyways. And we'll share it with the group before it goes out, so.
Great.
Okay.
That sounds like a great project.
So I mentioned on this topic to Don that the Peter Block drone video, and, you know, I would think that would be a lovely addition to the presentation if we think that's okay.
Well, and then the other one would be the Chronicle. There were actually two there. One of them was about the bog, and the second was more about the Mascoma Bank, but there is some really good footage in there.
Yeah, I've seen the Muscova Bank. You sent that to me.
Yeah.
And maybe I can get that again. I'm not sure if I have it, but whatever resources you have, pictures or anything, just send it. We'll compile it's supposed to be like a 45-minute presentation. The video,
Right.
probably, you know, 5 or 10 minutes at the tops. So, you know.
Yeah. When those videos were done, they were kind of towards the end of the aluminum portion, and then really the wood replacement had started, but it, you know, it wasn't anywhere near
Right.
close to complete.
Yeah.
So it was kind of good. It showed a little before and after.
Yeah, absolutely. We can talk about, you know, the
Yeah.
project is done, here are the steps.
But I'm sure you can get copies from Chronicle.
The Chronicle, who,
What is her name? Laura James?
Yeah.
Is she the one? I forget the full name of it. Is it Kearsarge Region Chronicle, or?
all right,
You see it in the shopper every week.
Oh.
They have a program, and
okay, yeah,
we can certainly get you the contact information as
okay,
well.
very good.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Mike, do you have any permit applications?
No. Basically, I think where we are on that is that because the town offices are still sort of in flux, haven't gotten anything in on permits at all. I did send a note in, but I haven't gotten a response. But I think basically once things settle down with the town offices, and we'll probably have people that'll start working on that again and getting some of that information back onto the permit sheet. But I haven't gotten a new spreadsheet in a couple of months, so I don't have anything to add. I will say, however, that I did get a note from a resident in New London who lives over on Herrick Cove. And apparently, there is a massive amount of tree cutting that's going on in that area. And I don't know if the town is aware of it or not. This particular resident's take on it is that people in that area are millionaires, and they basically do what they want, and then they'll just pay whatever fine there is without checking with the town first. So I'm not sure how we can, as a Conservation Commission, how we can enforce rules. We don't have that power. But because we don't have a building inspector, you know, things are getting done outside of the scope of rules and regulations, and, you know, once it's done, it's done. So, you know, you can't take down 50 or 60 trees and then plant a couple of bushes and think that everything's great, especially in that area, which is abutting Sunapee. So- Well, yeah, theoretically, yeah.
Legally, they have to have a tree cutting permit. The DES has not fined anybody in over 20 years because the laws are so antiquated that they have to prove that the person was doing it on purpose and prove that they damaged the lake. And that law just changed, but Mike's right. People all over the state are just saying, okay, I'll just take the $5,000 fine as part of the cost of doing the business and just have somebody clear cut it.
Have we spoken with Adam about this to see if they did apply for, that's really a planning board function, but,
Yeah, I just got a note from this resident and have not had a chance to talk to him
Okay.
yet, but I plan to.
be interesting to get his take on it,
Yeah,
to see
So
what,
London has ordinances around tree cutting that, you know, go beyond what the waterfront laws, the state level waterfront laws say.
well, yeah, they have their own law, rules,
Okay.
yeah.
and, you know, so many trees and so many this and so many that.
So in this
and-
case, the person may be breaking both the state watershed
And-
laws
and
and
the
the town law.
Yeah,
Yes.
could be,
Correct.
yeah.
I mean, we used to have Peter Stanley, who was in planning and zoning, who took care of that, but now they're too busy to go out and really do all that kind of sleuthing around to find out who's cutting down the trees.
They've also sort of changed, I mean, my understanding is the selectmen and Kim have sort of said to Adam, no, you don't need to do that. Whereas Jesse said to Peter, yes, you do need to do this. And those select, I mean, it's just a different
Yeah, don't know.
viewpoint.
I would think, you know, we wouldn't, or I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to timber harvesting, you know, if they're doing best practices, yeah, I would want to consider what's actually happening before we, you know, took a position one way or another.
Well, yeah, we need to see what it is, how close to the lake is it, how much are they doing, are they?
Well, my understanding is this is clear cutting, it's not selective cutting. In fact, you're just
patch
clear
cutting-
cutting to put up a home. And basically, the person is doing this, it's a multi-million-dollar project, and apparently, they're even turning it into an Airbnb or something, so it's a whole big project, and it's on Lake Sunapee. So, to my way of looking at it, that's a fairly dangerous situation. Without any, you know, enforcement of rules and regulations, it's a potentially damaging situation for the lake. Because you're talking about property that's on the lake.
So there should be a building permit as well.
There should be.
Okay,
I
well,
mean,
that'd be,
there could be a building permit, but it doesn't necessarily include what was being done, if you know what I'm saying. In other words, there could be a
Yeah.
building permit for a house that doesn't say anything about clear cutting so that they have a view of the lake. So, you know,
Look at it ourselves, because the guy living across from it is like, they clear cut, but that might not be actually, you know, we need to know what they actually.
well, also I'm gonna talk to Adam about it, see if he's aware of
Yeah.
this and what was approved and what wasn't. We'll kind of go from there.
compared to what was done.
Compared to what was done,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Right. Okay, good. Okay, minutes of the January 15th meeting. Do we have a motion to accept and any edits?
One edit. You refer, I think, twice to AS, the Osmond Sergeant, and the acronym isn't right. It should be ASLPT, right?
Yeah, in a couple places, the P is missing.
That's the only comment I had.
I move to accept the minutes as modified.
Second? All in
those
favor?
Aye.
Right?
Okay. All right. Filbert Crescenti Bog signs. We have the first sign,
Looks good.
which I think really looks good. I understand in the paper proofs that are what, quarter of the size?
Yeah.
They looked a little fuzzy because the print was so small, but it looks in the actual size that it appears pretty clear.
It does to me too. The smallest print here is,
There's a little bit of an echo.
yeah.
Yeah, but not enough, I
It's
think.
But is that the part number?
About it.
Part number, yeah. Really, there's a little bit of an echo here too.
So can we ask that question of the supplier?
Yeah, sure can.
It's probably an artifact from it being compressed into a PDF.
Yeah.
It's probably
Yeah.
what it's from.
Which would mean that nothing can be done, or?
Well, you can't change it once it's the PDF, but I mean, you could redo.
You could
the-
recreate the PDF with
Yeah.
higher
Higher
resolution or less compression, which makes the file bigger.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think that, to me anyway, that particular sign is something that you would want to go through all that trouble to fix. In other words,
It's
to
still
me,
readable.
It's all readable,
Right.
and it's not, you know,
See the little echo, especially down in the left corner, Sue?
Like
In the
here?
lettering, yeah. But it's still readable.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's not terribly noticeable that it's,
Right.
you know, it's not a big deal. The color, I think, is very good, and the coloration for the birds on this one in particular, it looks crisp. There isn't any issue with the larger lettering, which is really the
Right.
main point of having the signs. And the boilerplate at the bottom, I mean, it's really not the main issue for the sign anyway, so, you know, if it's a little bit off, I don't think it's worth having somebody redo all the PDFs to fix that, to me. I mean, that's my 2 cents. I think it looks very good.
Now, compared to the other test sheets, are there any that are more complex that might create a bigger loss or bigger problem? I guess that would be my only question. Is this typical of all of them, or?
Well, I picked this one because it's got quite a color spectrum.
Right.
Really not answered your question, Bob. When I spread these out, I mean, some of them have this,
Yeah.
layout, and some do not. And,
Yeah, I mean, I think if you take a look at the background, you can certainly see the bird in the background on that particular sign. The other ones, when I was looking at the ones when you sent them over, to me, all of the major parts, component parts of the signage is basically the same as that from the standpoint of the size of the font and things like that. So I don't think you're gonna see any, to me, you're not gonna see any difference in the other ones, other than, some will be a little bit lighter, some a little bit darker based on composite, but the coloration on this, I think, came out
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, very good.
It's really nice and sharp,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's any of the other signs that has any more of a changeover in color than this thing does. I mean, this has got, yellows and oranges and blues and so forth. So
Yeah.
It looks really good. I think it came out great. Size is good too, by the way. I think the size is just where it should be.
Yeah,
Easy to read, nice. And-
yeah, definitely large enough print, so
Yeah.
hopefully anybody can read it.
And this has the protective coating on it. So it should hold up a good long time.
So if we mount that on a piece of pressure-treated plywood, it should be pretty secure.
Yeah.
Then the question is, and we need to get Dawn's expertise on this, is how are we gonna mount this? Is the ground gonna be solid enough to support, you know, a post or something, or maybe two posts? Or do we want to attach it to the boardwalk or to the aluminum? You know, those are things we need to figure out. And the other thing I think that's going to be pretty critical is what's the appropriate angle? You know, I'm not sure it's 45 degrees. It may want to be a lot, because the flatter it is, the more exposure you get. So, you know, what's the right height? And probably not an awful lot we can do about looking at different locations right now, but at least we can think about the design.
Well, we can take a look at the Esther Courier sign that we have at Low Plain. It's only a black and white sign, but it was mounted at a particular angle, and that's held up really, really well.
We have the 4 on Webb.
Oh, yeah.
They've been out there for, was it 1 or 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can look at, so you can look at other, you know, other signage and see what the angle is on those, and then maybe try to calculate what it is.
Yeah,
And do the.
and then maybe try a couple, you
Yeah.
know, to see if it really is okay.
The signs at Webb are 45, and I noticed they were not shedding snow. So that would be a reason to have them a little steeper, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who's taking the lead on this installation step?
I'm a believer in continuity.
Oh, so you're gonna continue? All right, I'll work with Don.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we ought to make up a sample or two, you know, and see how it works.
Well, I've given some thought to where they'll go, and,
Yeah.
you know, some will be attached to wood and some to aluminum, and maybe some standalone, so we've got to sort of figure that part out, too.
You're right.
Are you in the situation where you want to get a few more signs to put up, or did you want to get all of these done now that you have the one prototype that's in?
I was thinking all of them at once, but
How many total?
14, I think.
Now, what about the Mary Haddad? That's separate?
Well, no, that's part of the welcome.
Is that part of the 14?
Yeah.
Okay. And what are they, Mike? 100 or so?
No, it's under 100. It's, I think it was $98 or something like that.
Okay,
Oh,
so $100 a
let's
piece.
say $100, and then, I mean, my only thought on this is that if we got maybe like 5 total, and you put them out for a year, and see how it works out, and see how they hold up, and then if they don't fade, and they don't peel, and they don't this, and they don't that, but then go out, get the rest of the signage, and go from there.
And we ordered those using the town debit card?
Yes,
Is that how we did it?
yes.
So
That one sign,
So
this
we-
sign was ordered with the.
we're still going to need a purchase order, but then we get Lynn to help
Well,
us
that's
place the order.
That's the other thing, if we bought 4 more, would come in under the $500 mark.
Yeah.
So if I put in like I did before, put in the 4 signs, put them into the database, asked her to log in and just pay for them, order those out, now you have 5 signs you could put around, and then, you know, have it sit for a year and
Is
see
this,
how it holds up.
have we used
and
this
so forth.
vendor before? Or is this a
Yes.
brand new
Oh, yeah,
vendor?
no.
No, we've used them before.
Same one did the Webb.
Or,
Webb, so we already have an example of 4 signs that have been out in the weather for at least a year.
But I don't know if they've been this
They're that size,
graphic.
and they've
But-
got
or whether
pictures.
they're,
Color?
The web
Oh, okay.
signs have
Yeah.
color, and they've got birds on them, and
or do we,
squirrels and other
or do we
things
do
on the
half and
trees.
half? Just hate to delay it, you know,
Well,
but
I
I
think-
understand what you're
Yeah,
saying,
you have a
too.
prudent idea, Mike. I had been thinking of sort of a splashy christening where they were all out
Well,
there.
that's what I mean, I didn't realize that you had something that had this much contrast
Yeah.
and coloration on
I
it
was
already.
gonna walk Webb today. I'll go brush the signs off and give you an opinion on how they've held up.
Oh, okay, well, that's fine, as long as we know that they'll hold up, that's the only thing that I was thinking is that.
Spending
This looks-
$1,400 and not
Well,
knowing, right?
yeah, you know, just see if they're gonna hold up to the weather, but if it's something that we've already got, then fine, that was my only concern.
Yep.
I do notice that the Hayes Place sign that's been up for 3 or 4 years has micro scratches on the surface. Like the coating has started to age.
Now, did those come from the same supplier?
Yep,
And is it the same surface treatment?
yep. I mean,
Well-
it's not bad, but, 4 or 5 years in, you can see that they've been out there for a while, that sign's been there for a while.
Yeah.
Anybody else smelling that?
Yes.
Yep.
What is it? I mean, where is it?
I know where the police cars don't appear to be running.
It's a diesel generator, probably on a PM.
Oh, right.
It's doing its once a week thing.
Yeah, so it'll probably run for 20 minutes.
Yeah, hopefully. The chimney's right there, and that's what's spewing the smoke and the diesel fumes.
So it's covered with snow.
Not the chimney, not the stack.
Okay.
You think that goes on automatically?
It should, I mean, it sounds like it's probably, unless the power goes out, which it hasn't. I mean, it should be running on a preventative maintenance, probably on a monthly basis or something.
Yeah.
So.
That's gross.
So we're gonna stick with what we have in the way of these PDFs then. I mean,
If
are we in
everybody's-
agreement
I'm okay with that, yeah.
That quality is enough?
Yeah.
Because personally, I don't think we need to have PDFs redone just for that.
Well, I think the extension service folks would be relieved to hear that. I mean, they've been very patient, but there's been quite a bit of back and forth already, and I think they'd be happy to hear that we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Is
I
it-
I think these look great.
Is it worth asking if there's like a more super protective coating?
Build a Sign doesn't offer that on their menu. They just have one choice.
You just have the one,
Oh, okay,
the one coating, yeah.
okay.
But maybe
If you want, I
steeper-
can check other vendors.
Yeah.
I've used some other vendors in the past.
Yeah,
But they seem to have the best pricing.
Yeah.
and Fastest turnaround time. But I can check if you like.
well, I'd be, I think, how long would you expect them to last? If they last 5, and that doesn't mean at year 6 they're going to be unreadable,
Right.
Yeah.
So,
maybe at 10 years they have to be replaced. Probably depends how much sun they get too,
yeah, I'm sure that's
Yeah.
part of it, yeah.
yeah. So,
So
I
are
think-
you happy delegating to Don and me the actual location of the signs, or
oh, yeah,
do
yeah.
you want other input on that?
No, I think that's fine. I'd just like to have some input about the mounting, how we're gonna do it. Do we wanna use a metal stake, like a delineator post, or, what does it take?
Somehow I bet the guy that built his own house and the mechanical engineer
Yeah.
can probably figure those things
Yeah,
out.
yeah. But before we do 14 of them, we ought to just make sure we're all on the same page.
Remember, the High Country Aluminum, what's the guy's name, what's his name?
Doug?
Doug.
McLam.
He designed an aluminum. He did a
And how much
prototype
did
for it.
said aluminum post cost?
Yeah, it was gonna be $300 per,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So that would mount to the aluminum,
yeah.
yeah. Well, let's see what we can do. Always keep that as a plan B.
So we're gonna go ahead and order all of them. Is that what we've concluded?
I guess so. The only-
Okay.
The only thing would be that, as you had mentioned, it's gonna take a purchase order because the total amount's gonna be,
So we're gonna need I know they don't do formal quotes, but we're gonna need like a proof or something of the order to
Well, what I-
present for approval.
well, what I can do is I can build in all the other signs.
Oh, so
I'll
it's,
log in and create all the other signs, with all the same thing that I did for this sign.
so they're all in a cart,
It's all gonna be in a cart,
and then print it?
and then print out
Yeah,
that
okay, yeah.
total number, and I'll
That should do it.
get that to Lynn, and
We have the money, so it's just getting Kim and Lynn to approve it and go from there. And I think, what was delivery, a couple of weeks on that sign, Mike?
oh, I don't even think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was like,
So with this volume, but we have time, so now's a good time to do it.
yep. All right, I'll,
And that will include the Mary Haddad sign.
Yep.
Signs. Can we order a couple extra of those, or are those specific to the bog?
Specific to the bog.
Why don't we order one extra?
Yeah, it just says Mary Haddad, you know, as a.
Okay, yeah.
The Extension Service has asked for one more sign that acknowledges their contribution to the project, a small sign that they're going to.
Oh, yeah,
Design, and I said, that sounds fine to me.
yeah, yeah.
So Mike, maybe we could, if they can get that to me quickly, we can add that to the.
yeah, there's no rush, because if I put it in a cart, it'll just sit in the cart until it gets processed. So, yeah, whenever you get it to me, it's fine. I can start working on the other stuff in the meantime.
Yeah, good. Good, good.
Oh, sorry, one other thought. The Mascoma Bank grant was for 3,000, so it sounds like this is gonna come in well less than, roughly half of that 3,000.
We haven't billed the mounting yet.
True. So
Yeah.
can we, from an accounting standpoint, should we sort of keep track of what the mounting costs are and?
Yeah, we
at some point,
should.
We probably should get back to Mascoma and say, here's how we used your money.
Yeah, and we should, maybe take some nice photos and show them when we're done, show them what their contribution accomplished. That would be good. Because that was they have been extremely generous and supportive of this project, so that's important. Okay,
And sorry, do we think we're gonna do a spring, christening or event of some kind for the bog?
yeah, it may be more like early summer, but yeah, definitely. I think we were gonna tie it in with some,
Arbor Day or,
what did we say?
the anniversary of-
Like a week before the 4th or something like that. I think I don't think we finalized that, but we talked about a couple different possible dates.
so Don, that would give you and me a deadline to make for, yeah.
Okay, anything else on the bog? All right. Trails in general, Mark.
Just out there in this, I fear a lot of downfalls.
Yeah,
There's wind conditions.
yeah, we'll have to deal with it,
Time to ping our trail adopters and remind them
Yeah.
it's a good time to go out.
Yeah, I will do that.
Yeah, I'll get Webb done this afternoon.
Okay. Want to take the gas chainsaw with you while you go?
Oh, no, I'll bring my little toy saw. But
We'll
that can
need
only-
that gas saw, Bob, I've already found some big trees that are too big
Yeah.
for the little saw, so,
You gotta cut those in the spring after the snow goes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Most likely.
yeah.
Otherwise, trails, I've been working quite a bit on the Cook, property, and so those trails are, much better blazed and signed than they have been, and I hope the complaints will diminish.
Well, you got at least one compliment.
Right, right.
From Paul and his wife.
Yeah. And we did get a lovely thank you note from a hiking patch couple. They had each trail they had a constructive comment and then a nice thank you note also.
Oh,
so.
great, super.
Mark, on the Cook Trails, are you continuing the current color blazing scheme?
No.
Or are you just going all yellow?
All orange, except we happen to have some blue blazes, so the Elkins Erratics loop is going to continue to be blue, but all the rest are signs at intersections and then orange blazes. And we're going to
So they're the
abandon.
plastic blazes?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, no more faded
Painted
paint.
blazes that only last a few years.
Right.
Okay, I have heard nothing about street numbers. Has anybody heard anything about street numbers?
I see emails coming in to my desk, and I share them all with him and Adam, and an in-person visit. I think it's all on, basically on, actually, who else is involved is Nancy and.
Yes, she was the one that made sure whatever DPW had to do was done. And that was, and Kib did mention that it was being worked on a couple of weeks ago, but that's been well over a year, so. Okay. We'll stand by. Okay, the Bog Brook Wetlands, 119002. Things have been pretty stable at 0.7 inches of water level. Sorry, 0.7 feet. So 7/10 of a foot, roughly 8 inches of water in the culvert. It's been moving surprisingly swift, but it might have something to do with the 20, 30 mile an hour winds that are driving it. The ducks came back, a small quantity, 8 or 10 of them, for a few days, and they have now disappeared again. I did notice this morning that with this cold weather, the discharge side of the culvert at Bog Road is freezing in a lot more than it has in years of the past, and that I think is just because the water level is so much lower. Not much we can do about it. The water's moving. So I think, you know, who knows? I'm sure the water's gonna go up in the spring if we get heavy rains, if it melts fast, you know, all the usual things. It takes a few days to recover, but the water appears to be moving.
Well, since it's been so cold and we've got good snow cover, I can trek in there in the next week or so with snowshoes and kind of see if the beavers have been busy or anything else has been busy. So we'll know once it thaws, we could get in there and try to tear them apart again.
That would be interesting.
Because you got that month or so when the ice is not solid, you just can't get in there by boat or by foot.
Right, right.
But right now, I think I could get in there on snowshoes safely. So I'll do that over the next week.
Yeah.
Let everybody know.
And I have to believe a good part of that is probably frozen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, well, that's good. Now, you received an email message from Ethan Simon,
From Ethan, yes. I get notes from Ethan periodically.
and I think you were the only one that received it.
Yeah, he communicates with me directly
So,
with ideas.
he was presenting an idea, which I did not completely understand, about equipment that might do something, and I thought your comment was very good. Actually, it was the same comment I had, is why do we need this?
Yeah. So what he's proposed is somebody in Master Pond Protective Association discovered this software that, and we should have asked Don while he was here, or Dan, that Osmond Sargent uses, called Lens. And it uses satellite data and other data images, and it can come to some conclusions that have things changed over time. So he just keeps poking. It's the scientist in him. He just keeps poking at ideas of how can we figure out if the wetlands are changing. And it's interesting, but like Bob said, I don't think would be of a value. Plus, this thing is $2,000 to $4,000 a year for a subscription to this tool. Right, so potentially we could borrow theirs, so to speak.
I think they could, I don't know how it works, but they could look at what you wanted looked at, but I'm not, like, wetlands change over time.
Exactly.
Well, and a lot of change has taken place due to what we did.
Right,
So-
right. Some human-introduced change has
Yeah.
happened over the last couple of years.
I can ask a little more about that, because I don't know whether it can show you change over time, or you can just take a snapshot now and have to take snapshots as you go forward.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't understand either.
I can research it a little bit. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Jim? We have 2 drone flights. One of them was in winter.
Yeah.
That showed some very interesting things where stuff was backing up. And to me, that explained a lot.
Yeah,
But that doesn't mean it's the same this year.
right.
But,
Yeah,
because
and I think we still want to walk the property every year. We still want to get out there physically. So
yeah.
I'm not sure what this tool how it would help us,
Right.
was my conclusion.
Because I think that how Austin Sargent uses it is for really big properties that are hard to see the whole thing by any one person.
yeah. So, good information, thank you.
And I responded to him, and then I copied you and Mike on it so you could see what I'd said.
Yeah.
And I tucked it in my little MPPA communications subfolder, so I'm saving it like we were asked to do.
Now, I did talk to Robert, I think he goes by Rob Livingston, who is a wetlands specialist at DES. And my main question was, since we have really changed the water level of Mesa Pond from what was abnormally high back to where I think it seems, and we think it seems to belong. So I asked the question of DES, who actually determines what the appropriate level of a lake or pond is? And he said, interesting question. If it's a dammed body of water, then that's a whole different ballgame.
Yep.
There's a process, and usually maybe several entities that are involved with giving input, but that's not the case.
Right.
He did look at, and I was surprised, he was able to look it up very quickly, and he noticed the one comment he made that was interesting. He said that 4-foot culvert, without making a lot of calculations to him, looked maybe a little bit on the small side, and for what that's worth.
Yep.
But he said, without receiving a formal application because we talked about dredging, he said, we'd have to look at an application and evaluate it and make a determination. He says, but from what little I see right now, and this is unofficial, he said, I don't think you'd ever get a permit to dredge. So, okay. And
That's consistent with what David Niles told me when I talked to him about it. He's
And
like, you guys don't
we don't
bother to
see-
touch it. I don't see a problem.
yeah, we don't see a problem.
Right.
And by digging up a lot of sand and so forth down on the end, that isn't gonna make the culvert flow anymore. So,
Right.
so that's, I don't know what's gonna happen. I noticed the protective group is still, trying to enlist volunteers to work on a water monitoring weekly, monthly check, whatever. They've told us nothing about what their plans are. So I have no idea what they're gonna do, except they're trying to get a bunch of people to, I guess, make periodic inspections. But I don't know whether they will communicate with us or not, but they may need to be reminded that this is town land, and you can't just go in there and do things,
Right.
without approval.
I think they can go in there, because we're not posting it, so they can go in there, but you're right, they can't do stuff while they're there.
Right.
Be there, like, doing actual water monitoring, like, seeing how much phosphorus or?
I have no idea. They just said they were looking for volunteers to do water monitoring. There was no definition of what that work was gonna be.
And they already participate in the VLAP program, so they're already doing that kind of monitoring. Yeah. Yeah, because we talked with Ethan and also with John, we talked about their VLAP reports over the last handful of years when I first started getting involved in the water level.
Yeah. So, that's kind of where we are there.
Maybe they should put a camera up right next to your death sign and they can monitor it 24/7.
Okay. Now,
Shall we have a round of applause for the next agenda item?
well, see, did you pass that around to everyone?
This is the deed enshrined.
Figure out why it took so long.
Yes. Simple. Nobody did anything except the town.
Except for you.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, you know, to be blunt, the property owner was not involved, and the realtor really didn't do anything. It was, a number of things happened. There was a meeting way back when, allegedly, because of the deed language problem with the other parcel that has a house on it. They did get that owner to sign an agreement, as did the owner of this parcel. They had no interest in the other person's property, even though the deed said they did. So the deed was wrong. And Sue found a draft of a survey back quite a few years ago that also had a proposed easement on it, which never happened. And it was an electronic copy of a survey. And the attorney looked at it and determined that, our attorney looked at it and determined that, and talked to the surveyor, that was a good survey. All they had to do is take off the easement that never happened, clean it up, and there you go. There's your survey. And that happened. Never heard a word from property owner's attorney or the owner herself. We registered it. We had to write the deed, which normally the seller would do. I mean, we did everything. So we have a huge legal bill, which at some point, someone is going to be looking for some help with. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So we now have 088-006, which is 23 acres. Now, we would like to have, and this is interesting, what did I do with it? If you look at last year's town report, 2002-03 annual report, on page, I believe it's F25 and F26, is a schedule of town properties. Now, under conservation land, about halfway down, if you go down further, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th from the bottom, it lists Estuaria Wildlife Management Area at Low Plain, and the location is Laurel Lane. That's 089-003. That's the 32 acres that back up to the house lots on Laurel Lane. And it appears that it is contiguous with Low Plain, but it is only in a corner. It just touches in one place. So there's no room for a trail, a road, whatever. However, with the addition of 088-006, that connects two sides. So now that parcel is contiguous. And the two of them together, the 23 and the 32, total of 54 acres on top of the 200 that we now have, the original 169, and then the Low Plain 200 project, which was 2,000 feet on Andover Road and a couple hundred feet on Shaker, that 30 acres on top of the 169 made up 200 acres. That's why we call the project Low Plain 200. So we have 200 all under the Fish and Game easement. What we are asking the selectmen to do, although this is listed as conservation property, this Laurel Lane property, there is nothing either in the deed language or in the form of a conservation easement or anything else that we can find that ever said it is conservation land. So it's sitting there, it's somehow got listed as conservation land, but there's no language that says so. So we approached the selectmen and said, and this was before this most recent parcel closed, so it was kind of a what-if discussion. But we said, you know, when we get the 23, we'd like to be able to put it with the 32 and be able to add 52 acres to Low Plain, which would make it 254, or a 27% increase in area. And the selectmen, again, in principle, were okay with us adding the 23 acres because it was purchased with conservation land money, clearly intended to put it under the Fish and Game easement, subject to their approval. Well, the input from one of the selectmen was they would be happy to authorize us to manage the 32 acres on Laurel Lane, but not put it under conservation easement. So I kind of questioned that and asked, well, is there something we could do? That was purchased in 1987. So that's been almost 38 years. The town has owned it and basically done nothing with it. And no real reason was given. One of the concerns was perhaps that the cost of the stewardship fee might be objectionable. Generally, when a parcel is put under a conservation easement, whoever's holding the easement gets some money. In the case of the Low Plain 200, when we added that 30 acres, Fish and Game did not require any type of stewardship fee. And the reason they waived that fee was because they felt that that 30-acre addition along Andover Road was so critical to Low Plain that they would be happy to waive the fee and just take it and put it under the easement, which they did. So the Estacuria easement right now is for 200 acres. We're asking to make that 254. And there's some question. The way it was left with the selectmen, I did talk to a second selectman, and the feeling was, you know, okay, we understand your line of thought, but it's a little premature because the town doesn't own the land yet. So come back to us when we own it. So we have done that. And that selectman has asked us to come on the 27th of this month and present our case and formally request this from the selectmen. So we'll see how that goes. I think it's important that as many of us as possible be there. I talked to, we've had a great supporter at, what's the official name? the State Land Conservation Office. That isn't quite the name, but it was Steve Walker. He is the one who monitors Low Plain, as he does the strawberry fields, and there's another one. And the reason the state's involved is, I think, is originally there was some state money involved, and they kind of look at this. His associate there, Charlotte Harding, is now taking over. Steve retired first of the year, but he seems to still be involved in offering his input. So I talked to Charlotte in great length, and we told Steve back 3 years ago that what we had going, you know, trying to get this Matter East property, but there are all kinds of problems. So I didn't bug him every couple of months and tell him, yeah, we're working on it. Oh, yeah, we're making progress and all that stuff, because it didn't look like we were. But now we've told him we have it. And we want to include the 23 plus the 32. And my thought on it, and I want to make sure that everyone is on the same page here, is that the Estacaria Wildlife Management Area is a project, a dream that Estacaria had way back when. There's a lot of history. Actually, Osborne Sargent was the one that kind of brokered that whole deal and put all the pieces together, a combination of land gift, land purchase, land trade. There was a lot of things going on, and now we have added the Low Plain 200. So it's now 200 acres under Fish and Game easement. Now, to my interpretation of this, that is the Low Plain or Estacaria Wildlife Management Area at Low Plain. That's what it is, 200 acres. If we don't have this additional 54, if we only have or the 32, if we only have the authorization to manage it, that's not part of the Estacaria Wildlife Management Area. It is land next to the Estacaria. I mean, does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
So in order for this to be part of Low Plain, it's got to be conserved. And Fish and Game is prepared to do this. And the timing is important because there appear to be a lot of staff changes, some people retiring. Betsy McNaughton, who rewrote the whole easement to include some definition of how it was put together, and Sue was very helpful getting a lot of that data. And the way she set it up, it's ready to go with these 54 acres, just push the button. And although I could not tell them definitively that we were going to have 54, they're prepared to do it. And I believe, since we couldn't make the offer, you know, it was kind of what if you have the 54, Fish and Game would most likely do this, again, waiving the stewardship fee. So there really wouldn't be a cost. So that's a possible objection that the selectmen had, you know, spending money for a stewardship fee.
What is the cost if you had to pay a stewardship fee?
It may have changed, but with Osborne Sargent, it used to be 6,000, but if you allowed public access, they reduced it to 4,000. Unless those numbers have changed, or they may change
Yeah, I don't know.
depending on the size of the property too.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it
off the
isn't,
top of my head.
it isn't $100, you know, it's,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
was gonna guess it would be more like 10,000, but.
yeah, okay. So I mean, it's you gotta ask, and, you know, what do you get for that? Well, obviously, you're protecting the property in perpetuity, and nobody's gonna develop it. And we can say now that, you know, we got some great selectmen, they'd never do that, but
But you're
30,
sure
40 years from now, you know, somebody could.
you're sure they'll bring the fee?
And the other thing that's very important to remember down there is, you know, part of that land is wet. That's where Cascade Brook flows. So it isn't exactly prime, you know, housing land. And that's an important tributary to Pleasant Lake. And, you know, that's water, some of that water's coming out of the beaver pond. So it's important that we keep this consistent flow and not have these breaches where you get all kinds of who knows what flowing in, and it comes in right at the beach. So, you know, it's pretty important.
I mean, all of the same arguments that we made for buying the Matarese property also apply to protecting the town property.
Right.
You know, it's the same, because it's right behind, obviously, right behind the Matarese property, so it's wet, you know, it abuts the low plain, it's, you know, all the same arguments for putting a conservation easement on the Matarese property, you know, also apply to that property. And I think it's important that it gets all pushed under an easement. And if it doesn't cost the town anything, I can't understand an objection. You know, we're willing to, you know, work with the town and waive our contribution to our land acquisition fund. And I think it would be a nice thing to at least be able to say to the residents in town that even though we're not technically spending any money on new properties, we did get the Matarese property, but now we have an easy way to add another 32 acres to conservation without spending dime number one.
Exactly.
But we don't have confirmation from Fish and Game that they would waive the fee, we're just hoping.
Well, it's more.
99%.
Oh, so you're, okay,
We couldn't, you know, it was a what if,
yeah.
because we couldn't offer it because we didn't have approval from the selectmen.
Right,
But
okay, but they
yeah.
were really,
They felt, their feeling was, like the Low Plain 200 parcel, this is really important land. 27% increase in area is, you know, pretty big.
and I'm sure they're thinking that they already have to monitor what you've got, so adding to it is really not changing.
They actually walked it with Mike, right?
Yes,
Back,
we
yeah.
did, yep.
Now, they did say, because they feel this is so important, what they would want to do before they really committed, you know, to doing this and waiving any stewardship fee is they would want to send in some of their Fish and Game staff and probably some people like Matt Tarr from Extension Service to really go in and look and make some constructive suggestions, which, hey, absolutely. That's what we did when we did the first harvest at Low Plain further in. I mean, we took all the help we could get. And, I mean, that only makes it a better project. So, you know, the other thing that's important is when you look around the Low Plain parcel, these two are the last two parcels that are contiguous that don't have a house on them. So any other future addition would require us to end up with a house, which is not what we usually do. So this is kind of the last chance. So that's kind of the pitch, and does everybody agree with that? And, you know, if we said, look, we can't get the 32, we just want to do the 23, I don't know. They may say, you know, it's the same amount of work. You know, if we do 23 or we do 56, you know, 54, or, I don't know, they may not want to do it. having Fish and Game with input, with an easement on this land, gives us a lot of help, a lot of support. Not that the Extension Service isn't gonna help us, or our county forester is not gonna help us, but there's a heck of a lot more enthusiasm when they're involved. So that's basically what we want to talk to the selectmen about, see what they have to say. On the 27th, Bill Helm will still be a selectman. If we wait, and I know they're busy, I was almost thinking, well, maybe we should wait. But then we're gonna have a new select person, and I'm not sure we know really who that is, so, or how they may feel about this, so.
What time on the 27th?
5:30.
5:30, it's a Thursday. Yeah, and it's here. So,
Do we want to make a motion that we feel that we should have an easement on both of these properties? Would that be appropriate or no?
did we do that before in the meeting minutes? I thought somebody made a,
Both properties?
you made a,
I don't know if we did it for the 8913.
okay.
did we?
Motion was made by Mike Elsis to add
Oh, we did. yeah,
089.
okay, yeah, you're right,
Okay.
You're right, yeah.
Great idea, Mike.
It's already there. Okay, perfect.
So I have a question. If we were to go forward with just the 23-acre parcel, do we need selectmen approval to do that? I mean, if it's no cost and it's,
Well, there is technically, because the value is reduced when it has an easement on it. So in theory, at least, and I don't know what the difference is between it being in current use and with an easement, it probably isn't much. You know, it's like $5 versus $7 or something.
Tax-wise, if it's in current use already, it's not gonna be a
But
difference. The value.
if it's appraised
Yeah.
with an easement on it, it's worth even less, you know, but it's a couple of bucks, it's not. But I think yes.
so when we go to the meeting, if they say, if they nix the 32-acre parcel, will we then say, well, we want your approval for just the 23-acre?
I hope we don't have to have that conversation. I certainly wouldn't offer it right off.
Yeah, I would consider waiting if they nix
Yeah,
the 32, then we can afford to wait 6 months or a year before we put an easement on it and see if the
And-
selectmen change and.
or if we want to really push this, I guess we could do a petitioned warrant article, which would not go over real well, but, I mean, what the heck, this land's been sitting there for 37 years, nothing's going on with it, and from what I understand, in talking with Richard Lee way back when, it was purchased for the possible purpose of building a sewer pumping station, because there was some talk way back when about putting town sewer around all of Pleasant Lake, until I think they found out what it was gonna cost. And it seemed like a little bit of an odd location for a pumping station, kinda like going in the wrong direction, but, anyways, so it just sat there. And then somehow got listed as conservation land, which Kim explained to me means absolutely nothing. So,
Is Bill Helm the one who's opposed to this?
he was neutral because we didn't own it. Janet Kidder was not in favor of it,
Oh, well, she was not.
yeah. And I don't know about BB.
I would think she'd be in favor of it.
Yeah.
Well, to Sue's
I mean, the risk is putting it under an easement and then finding out the town needs it for something.
For what?
But I don't know what.
Police station?
Well, I mean, it's tricky too, because, like, the access to it is actually really through Wilmot. Like, you gotta go through Wilmot.
Well, there is, I understand it's a 25-foot
Right of way.
strip. Well, it isn't a right-of-way, it's actually part of the deed.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
Does it say right-of-way?
No.
No.
But it shows it as part of the parcel,
They
yeah.
bought that from like John Reno or somebody.
Right,
It goes out to Laurel Lake, right?
Yes.
yes,
Well,
but that's
Hemlock,
only 25 feet, which I don't think would support a road.
Okay, but even if it did support a road and you wanted to put some municipal building there, to get to it, Laurel Lane actually passed through Wilmot. So
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
gonna have to discuss that with the town of Wilmot to like add a lot of,
well, and I'm sure the neighbors wouldn't be thrilled, you know.
just a subdivision,
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
I would think they'd be very supportive of this going under a conservation easement. Because that strip, you know, goes down the side of two house lots, so,
right.
you know, if that was, and to use it, I'm sure you'd have to cut the whole 25 feet to even make a driveway. So, let's see.
I guess to Sue's point, you know, I mean, we want to get this done, but if we waited a year, it's not going to be the end of the world. And, you know, maybe our answer, if they do not support this, we say, well, next year we'll do a petition article.
Or next year, we'll bring it back up.
Yeah, we'll bring it back up and,
Yeah, I wouldn't say what we're gonna do, but we'd review the situation and, you know, perhaps see if there's another way of doing it. You know, I wouldn't make it sound like a threat, but, let's see what they have to say.
Two very different people running for selectmen.
Who are the two people?
Carl? Oh, I didn't know that, because Rich Anderson is, and Tom Carley? Yeah, so.
Who was the other person, did you say? But is there another one?
Rich Anderson and Tom Carley. I don't know Tom Carley.
Who's Rick Anderson? Do we know him? Rich.
Yes.
He was on the,
He's a lawyer, yeah.
for years.
Okay.
He's been involved, he's been on committees at Austin Sargent. So I think he's pretty environmentally oriented. And I think from what I hear, Tom Carley maybe less so.
He's library too? Like a, yeah, yeah,
I don't know him at all. I know Rich.
yeah. I'm surprised we haven't seen the things in the paper that they usually.
They'll start now, because they just announced a candidate night.
Okay. Do you know when the town report's gonna be ready?
It's being, proofed right now.
Okay.
They
'Cause
won't have to have it ready till the week before, or 10 days before the town meeting.
it's not that far away, though.
Are they
Okay.
gonna record that interview process with the candidates?
I have no idea.
They should put it on the website.
Okay, so, are we good on that?
yep.
So let's all try to be there if we possibly can. I haven't seen an agenda. I hope we can get up front. Because it could be fairly quick, you know, unless there's comments from the floor. So, I didn't have a date. I've got it somewhere, but the, Colby Sawyer College Environmental Studies Project.
April 24.
April 24?
Yeah, she talked about it in.
Oh, okay, it's down here. Okay, yep. And we got care of that one. So February 27th, 5:30, Whipple is going to be about the land. And just to mention, I did before, nobody offered any milk crates. I hate to go out and buy some, but we might have to. As I mentioned, Spring Ledge has graciously offered us some greenhouse space for the 100 seed nuts we have. American chestnuts, the ones that Mark and I captured. They're still sitting in the refrigerator, and I it's been 4 months now, and I sent a message to Evan Fox asking him, hey, when am I gonna see these radicals coming out? Because they're just sitting there at 36 to 38 degrees, going through their stratification, and he says, be patient. They need a little more time. So when we see radicals maybe an inch long is probably the time to, pot them, and it will be good to have them. I could only provide limited sun because I only have 2 windows in the shop, and then temperature, I don't keep it to 70 all the time, so I think being in a greenhouse is gonna give them a pretty good start. And he said he'd take care of it. I told him we would be as much help or as little help as he wanted. If he wants us just to, pot them and then stay out of the way, that's fine too, but, and then the plan, see how many of them germinate and then where we go from there. Okay, any new business?
The Tracy Memorial Library thing, you want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah, did I not put that down?
It's on the
Yeah,
list.
it's on the
Oh,
list.
it is.
but, yeah.
Do you want to, I guess the initial contact came to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We received an email and, from Tracy Memorial Library, and they're having an author, Duncan Watson, talking about everybody's trash. It's an event that they're gonna have on April the 15th. And basically, all they asked us to do would be to support their efforts in getting the word out on this event. They don't want any money from us or anything like that, but just if we could, on our Facebook page and on our website, to mention that they're having it, to try to instigate interest, that's what they're looking for from us. And I think that that's a totally reasonable request. So I'm in favor of doing that.
What time?
I don't
5:30.
remember, it's, what is it?
You just looked it up.
I've got 5:30 on my calendar.
What day of the week is that, by the way?
Tuesday.
A Tuesday, yeah, okay.
Okay, so we don't have to really do anything other than just,
They're gonna have a flyer.
Okay.
We'll put it on Facebook, we'll put it on our website, similar to what we did with the snowshoe
okay.
hike, same kind of.
So, I got a message, I think it was a mass message from Beth. But you're dealing with the assistant, librarian?
Yeah,
Okay, so you just need to get back to him and tell him we're all set?
and say that
Okay.
we will get word out, we will support their
Perfect, perfect,
program. Yep.
great. Okay, the only other thing I have, before we leave, I'd like to get a group photo with a copy of the deed. And Mike and Mark both have cameras. If we could get maybe Linda to take a picture, that would be good. I think we'll hold off on anything with the photos until. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll hold off doing anything with this until we have our meeting with the selectmen. So where do we want to go? Right up here somewhere?
Oh, right here, I guess.
Dog wants to be in the picture.
Sure. Ace, come on over here, buddy.
Closer, or let me move these out of the way. Is that good enough, or you want the other one up?
You want to get the dog in it?
come over here and sit, okay?
Cheers.
Cheese and cheers.
Cheese and cheers.
Thank you.
You wanna take another one?
Just to be on the safe side, yeah.
Okay.
It's always good to have more than one.
I was thinking about that.
Oh, okay.
On the video it?
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Make a motion to adjourn? I move to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Bye.
Thank you very much. Oh, you're over there, buddy. Okay.
Up. He's moving faster than you are.
Ace, come on over here, buddy.